today, how to avoid common problems, and how to extend the quality of life for your cherished companions. As a community advocate, I will also discuss important social issues that affect our city. I plan to showcase organizations and heroes who are doing amazing things to help others. Remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 10, starting soon.
This is Barbara Berrigan-Perea with Delta Flows, a radio show by the Voice of Stockton and Restore the Delta. This is the weekly radio show where we discuss everything Delta related: the environment, water management, water quality, farming, history and culture, public events, recreation, Delta food, and the arts. Tune into Delta Flows on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at KXVS Radio.
KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, live. The Voice of Stockton at Stone Soup Studio. KXVS.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Hi, this is Neas with Behind the Art Scene at KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. And today my guest is Lon Chan. I met him over at the Cambodian Experience, Our Journey to America exhibit. Welcome, Lon. And Lon arranged for the arts component of this exhibit. This is one of the most amazing exhibits I've ever seen in my life. How extensively it's portrayed. And could you tell me a little bit how you got involved with the exhibit?
Hi, so I first got involved with the exhibit through Sophie, Sihanouk, and Savong. They were interested in my works and they would like to collaborate my arts within the exhibition. So it started from there on, and we planned really meticulously during the 20 months, and here we are today with our final product.
So how did they find you or get together?
Well, they found me through some of my works, and also we were part of the dance group, the Kmer Ballet of Stockton.
Yeah, can you tell me about that? You're so versatile. You have so many different art forms that you participate in. So what do you do with the dance group?
My role as part of the Kmer Ballet of Stockton, I am an assistant instructor. So what I do, I help train the students in dancing and doing performing pieces, as long as doing their warm-ups. So what we do as a group, Kmer Ballet of Stockton, we perpetuate traditional classical dances, and through the use of practicing traditional ways, and really containing those traditional ties with students. So also my part as a teacher, I help the students prepare in performances, as dressing them up and make sure they are ready to go for each performance.
So where do you guys rehearse? Where do you practice?
So for now, our headquarters are located at the Cambodian Temple at Carpenter Road.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so how often would you guys perform, or when would the public be able to see performances?
Our next performance for sure is during Cambodian New Year, which takes place between April 13th through April 17th. Other than that, we do have occasional performances elsewhere where other organizations come and invite us to their venue, and we perform there.
I saw a performance. I think it might have been. Are there more ballet studios than just one? Or I saw a performance at the Hagen Museum. Were you guys involved with that, or?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Yeah, that was wonderful. We were there to shop, and all of a sudden there was dance, and there was the Cambodian music, and so we I had a really wonderful experience there. So getting back to the exhibit, I love the way this is presented. There's a history portion. There's an area that shows the musical instruments. There's fashion. There's the art portion that you have. There's an area about the genocide, and then another one about what Cambodians are doing today, some of the leaders in the area in Stockton and surrounding areas. So how did you put your art portion together? How did you select your pieces or select the artists?
So not just myself who is being featured in the art gallery. I also invited my old advisor from back in high school, Mr. Han Soy. His works are really captivating. Most of his works contain landscapes of Cambodia. So in some ways, I feel like his works are relevant to the older generations, whereas my work, it has a more contemporary feel to it. For instance, I can just hang up a traditional painting of Angkor Wat or Apsara dancers and call it Cambodian art. But for me personally, I feel like as a newer generation, I am pertaining traditional visual appeals of Cambodian art, such as taking visual elements of classical or traditional patterns and then really exemplify it or exaggerate those forms into newer forms. So it just in my terms, I like to showcase that, we as the newer generation, we can make new arts and put a more different trend or twist to it. And I like to address, our new generation, that it's okay to tweak things up. Just because, we're Cambodian, we have to really follow strict traditional lines of, doing the same Angkor Wat painting, make sure the temple towers are right, and make sure the graceful forms of apsaras are correct. But for me, if you look at my art, it takes a different turn on that.
How did you get started in art? Can you tell me, was it as a child in grammar school? Or?
Yes, I got involved with the art at a very young age. I remember when I was a child, back in our neighborhood, our local area, we would have a small dance troupe we create on our own. And then from there, I was just simply captivated by the glistening and glimmering costumes. I remember that I would just sit there and look at them prep and perform and watch the teachers actually craft out the crowns and headdresses. It was just so captivating to me. And in some ways, I do try to get involved with that during that time, but I was just so young. So throughout the years, during my childhood, I do a lot of drawings, typical kids drawing cartoons and, recreating cartoon images and so on. So I didn't really get serious with my classical arts, such as costuming and headdress making, until I was in middle school and high school. I started experimenting more and more. I really took a lot of time in experimenting these pieces.
So what schools did you go to?
Since I am a local in Stockton, I was born and raised here. I went to Murata Middle School and I went to Bear Creek High School.
Okay. So were you in their art classes? Did you do some of your costuming in the art class? Or?
Most of those art classes were like visual art, so I mostly drew out a lot of visual like imagery of how the costume looked like onto a dancer. So most of my arts were costume designs or crown designs. And when I reached to high school, I took more sculpture classes. From then on, I was able to enhance my sculpture skills into headdress making. And also with the costuming, I enhanced my skills furthermore as I attend Delta College and taking costume courses.
Oh, really? Really? I've always been interested in this. I went to San Francisco State, and I heard that they had one of the best costume programs available. I never participated, but it's always fascinated me. I love going to all the different cultural performances in Stockton and seeing the vast array of costumes. So you brought some things here today. Can you talk about those?
Yes. So a lot of classical costumes within the Cambodian ballet repertoire. A lot of these costumes were created to please or even be presentable in front of the royal courts, in front of His and Her Majesty. So a lot of the costume we see today are more of a reconstruction of Queen Kosama, or Queen back in the 1930s to 1950s. She's reconstructed the costume to have a more Khmer or Cambodian style to them. And one of the ways to construct these costumes, they're not so easy, first of all. For instance, here's a in-progress work I brought today. So a lot of these works involve meticulous time and study of how the designs are worked out. So first of all, the way I approach these type of costume making, I research on how the costumes were made and also how the designs were constructed. So
where do you find those materials?
Materials.
How do you do your research? You look in books, or where?
Yes, I've looked in books, online research, and also archival items such as newspapers, and a lot of video watching.
Do you find those in Stockton, the archival items, or?
Yes.
Where?
Quite a few local libraries here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but for the most part, I watch videos.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I watch videos, I pause them, and I try to draw out the designs and really try to emulate the design as closely as possible. So a lot of, as you can see straightforward, there's a lot of motif and a lot of exquisite details behind these type of works.
Because I too, there's visual artists that really enjoy two-dimensional, but I've always enjoyed the three-dimensional. So one of my things that I do is crochet, and also I do some needlework. But I see sequins. What kind of cord is this?
So these gold little threads are called gold bullion threads, and they're used a lot to embellish royal or really those formal-looking attires. So you see a lot of this material on also on general clothing, like the epaulets of generals' coats, and a lot of this material can be found either in France or India. So I personally purchased mine from India.
Oh, so you they send it to you online? That's what I'm finding a lot now. It's just getting harder and harder to find the supplies in a store. So it seems to be better to go online. And that's just fascinating. So all this, each stitch is sewn with that thread? Okay. Wow.
Yeah, similar process to beading and embroidery. You insert the material through the needle and thread, insert your fabric, pull it through, and somehow adjust the lining of your thread so that the designs have a coherent and flow to it.
Do you use like a embroidery hoop or any kind of stretcher bar?
Yes, a stretcher bar or a stretching frame is very crucial in creating these type of works, because if you do not have one, it'll be really difficult to. It's really detailed, so you need something to hold out and stretch your fabric as you're working the details.
So how is this going to be used?
This here is called, in Khmer, is called Na Chom Hyung. So it is a side panel that goes in front of the hips of a male or a giant character. So in the Khmer dance repertoire, we have 4 main characters. We have the Niang, which is the female character, Nerong is male, Ye is the giant, and Swa is monkey. And this is for the male character, and this right here is for the female character. It's called a Sbai. It's served like a shawl or sash and draped over the left shoulder and wrapped around the back body.
That's just wonderful.
So this is quite a long piece. This took me about 2 months to complete. And it's about, I would say, almost 3 yards long.
So, like here, you do your repeating patterns. Do you put any chalk or any kind of markings on the fabric to know where you're positioning your stitches, or?
Yes, I use a ruler and some yardstick, and depends on the fabric you're using. Like a metallic fabric like this, I will use a ballpoint pen so the design stick on better. Or if it's like a velveteen fabric like this, I'd use threads, do thread tracing, or I use chalk.
Okay. Just stunning.
Thank you.
So that's why I call Lon a master craftsman. And you had a presentation on Sunday. I spent most of this weekend at the exhibit. And you had a presentation about the artwork with you and Han. One of the things that really got to me when you were talking, you said that a lot of people think that this is a waste of time. So can you tell me about that? Who has told you that?
Honestly speaking, it's mostly from the older generations. And it's not a one-way route story. There's two sides to every story.
Sure.
And I do consider there are portions of this thought. As a first generation Cambodian, most of our older generation came to United States with little to no education, with nothing but the clothes on their backs. And one of the things they assumed that we'll have an assumed success or prosperity is to go for your doctors or be a nurse, be a lawyer, those typical high achieving careers. Whereas me, I feel like there's a big value behind these arts.
What is the value?
It's
for you.
It's first of all, it's the work that goes behind it, and number two, it's how much we lost during the Khmer Rouge regime from 1975 to 79. A lot of these traditional arts were almost depleted during those times. About 90% of the artists were either killed, exiled, or just they just went missing. So for me, as my role as a future generation is to continue this arts and to ensure that it is continued to our future generations.
Can I ask when you were born?
I was born in 1990.
1990. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. And so it's just amazing that you want to continue something for the future. I myself, I work in preservation, and that all these lost art forms or fading forms. My mother, she does tatting. It's a form of lace making. And these are older art forms. And we just need to keep these things going. And it's so important to just know where we came from. And so I just applaud you for
Thank you.
Spending your time so productively to ensure that we have these forms in the future. And I wanted to ask you, can you tell me you said about your sculpture?
Yes. So what we have here are headdresses for Cambodian classical dance. So these are for the female character. In Khmer, it is called the mokot kabang, or the crown that fits the frame of the face. So with that being said, I tie in my sculptural concepts into making these crowns. It takes a lot of artistic ability to view this design as a whole. There's a lot of visual elements as scaling, proportions, and a lot of repetition in the designs. So what I've learned in sculpture, I really attribute it to all these traditional artworks.
So when you make a piece like this, I can't even imagine how you first sculpt it in clay, or how do you do it?
Actually, these are made from cardboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cardboard.
So the actual items are made from silver, bronze, or some kind of metal material, and those materials are then pounded or embossed by chisel and a hammer. Whereas my approach to this type of traditional art, I use a cardboard, such as thin cardboards from gift boxes, and I draw out the designs. I carve out the design with a blade, a razor, and I emboss the surface with hot glue gun. Oh, so once that's cooled down, I really go in and really shape out the intricate motif of these flowers and small shapes.
So all of this is made with hot glue?
Yes.
Is it like colored glue?
To get the color, I use gold spray paint.
So you first do this all with hot glue, and then you spray paint it?
Yes.
Oh my. It's just unbelievable.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was just using a glue gun today. I need to go try make a crayon. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but some items some pieces I use cardboard for, like flat pieces like these. That most pieces that uses a lot of surface space, I use cardboard. But certain pieces that have like round shapes or different special shapes, I use like a simple plastic cup for this base.
So what is this used for?
It's for putting a bun into place. So so the dancer would place her hair in a bun, and then she would put her bun in this base, and then this hairpin holds it in place. So
this kind of wraps around the bun?
Yes, the bun inserted in the cup.
So the bun
sticks
is
out.
right here. Wow. And these are
earpieces. So similar concept with the face crown here. So these just go right at the ears.
Wow.
Just like that.
And these forms, when I was watching all of this over the weekend, I went to the dance performance, and there was just an unbelievable fashion show that showed like all the periods of fashion through the years, from like the 1600s all the way up to present day. It's just absolutely amazing. And but I look at these and these forms. Does this come from the Cambodian temple, or?
Yes, most of our patterns and motif comes from Cambodian temples, especially ancient ruins of like Angkor Wat or Bayon. During those times, our ancient ancestors, they took a lot of natural vegetation designs and then really put some abstract twist to it, so that it somehow it is decorated on a column or a facade of an entrance. So same concept that is put into these crowns. So these little traditional patterns are adjusted in a way so that it fits into a crown or any other headpieces.
But one thing I was noticing though, I was able to go to Thailand, and one of the dances, there was with the males, they came out with their the flowers for the females, dangling flowers in front of the females. That looked like something I saw in Thailand. So it's just like all these forms I say, oh, that looks kind of like maybe what you'd find in Greece or in other countries, and how all the countries are connected, and we may use the pieces differently, but it just shows our similarities. as well as our differences. So it's just fascinating to me.
A lot of our arts within Southeast Asia share a very similar core. So I would say a lot of our, within that region, about 70 to 80% of our arts is really similar to each other.
And you said, and this, the cord here you got from India? So it's just wonderful how all these different cultures are coming together and helping you. So I wanted to talk about the fashion portion. We can probably show those pieces. You over the weekend you had brought your actual sketchbook, and you had drawings of all the different fashion items that were going to be in the show. So you made a lot of those pieces for the people to wear, or?
Correct. I make the majority of the pieces. Some of the pieces were collected from our coordinator, Sihanouk, and some were borrowed from other sources.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Can you, what was the year of the first, when the first piece came out?
The first time period we showcased was from the year, I think, first year BCE to year 800.
Oh. And that was it was a very simple.
So it was like the first civilization of Southeast Asian, or particularly Cambodian civilization. So they were mostly topless and simple attire of the wrapped up pants and the folded skirt.
And just how it got more adorned and more adorned, and then it was so striking a difference. When the French came, and I guess they colonized Cambodia, and that was for about 100 years period.
Yeah, it's about 100, I believe.
And then, like, especially I noticed the women, the woman's dress. She was in a lace top and really kind of constricted and like a puffy sleeve. And can you describe that?
So that was probably one of the most challenging outfits we worked with. It's because there's not so many outfits we can find out there to make that Victorian look. So that outfit was really customized to our own taste. So in some ways we have to really research on how the costumes or the outfits were like back in those days. And within the Victorian area, the introduction of Western fashion and the introduction of lace, excessive lace and pearls. So we have to really know how those lace outfits were arranged onto the wardrobe itself.
And the man's outfit, I think he was wearing a helmet. It looked very military.
Oh, well, his hat, it was supposed to be more like a safari hat, because back in those days, when the French first have their exhibition in Cambodia, and this expedition of
the expedition.
Yes, of finding this new land and this new like country and culture of like ancient ruins and such. So within those days, a lot of like hard hat and the safari hats were in back in those days. Cause, yeah, the men just would like to explore and find new things out in the country.
Right. And the other one piece that was really striking was during the Khmer Rouge period. How somber the outfits were, how basic, and to me they look more Chinese kind of styling. Or can you describe that?
Well, one of the reasons why they have a more of a Chinese approach is because of the Chinese Revolution. With the communist movement, everyone looked the same. Everyone speak the same. During the Khmer Rouge regime, to achieve an agrarian society, a classist society, we had to eliminate all Western ideas and all of these these new coming ideas must be eliminated. And with that being said, along people of intellectuals and highly recognized individuals must be eliminated. And yes, so with that being said, everyone dressed the same, everyone looks the same. And I feel that outfit was also challenging because we were afraid of having people traumatized and have them reflect life back in those days. But by showcasing those fashion and have it walk through the runway, it reminds us that all of us went through a phase within that time period, and it's hard to forget, but also it's still a part of us.
Yeah, that's one thing. I've been involved with this group called Draw It Out, and Cleveland School Remembers, and every city, every country has tragedies and things that shouldn't have happened, and regrets, bad experiences. But I think we need to look them boldly in the face, and not shirk away from it, but you just say, okay, we're not doing that again. We're moving past this. This was really bad, and we're going to be better people. So like Cleveland School Remembers, that all happened in Stockton here in 1989. Mm-hmm. 5 children were killed, mm-hmm. and at Cleveland School, but from that, one of the teachers, she started the Children's Museum. So mm-hmm. we've had the Children's Museum for all these years, and now Cleveland School Remembers. It's a wonderful group of teachers that were there that went through that trauma, mm-hmm. but they're trying to change the gun laws and get people to think about gun safety and heal from all these things. And so we've had some exhibits, and I heard that the Cambodian experience, they want to have this be a traveling exhibit. Mm-hmm. Do you know where it might go in the future?
I'm not quite sure myself. It's something I have to consult with the whole team and talk it out. So I'm still sure we're still planning it out. Because
it's only it's only been available to see right now. Let's talk about where this is located. It's the San Joaquin County Office of Education, 2707 Trans World Drive. So it's down by Arch Road, by the airport in South Stockton. 2707 Trans World Drive. And I really recommend that all of you guys can. We only got a couple days left. Tomorrow's the last day. They're having a closing ceremony at 2 p.m. But tonight, I heard they're going to be having a screening of First They Killed My Father at 6 p.m. I haven't seen that movie. What? Can you explain that?
That movie, I've seen it once. Yeah. So it's a really good movie overall. It was produced by Angelina Jolie. So the movie, it takes the viewer into an adventure through the eyes of the main character. She was a child during that time, and she also became a child soldier. And she witnessed all the atrocities of the Khmer Rouge regime. So I don't want to give out too much about the film, so you gotta come and see it yourselves.
So actually, after I leave here today, they're going to have a presentation about the genocide at 2 p.m. Today, and then tonight is the film. At 6 p.m. So you have a couple opportunities today. The exhibit, you can go and view it. All all the way through 5 o'clock and during the movie, and then tomorrow, I think from 9 to about 2 when there's a closing reception, so or closing ceremony. So I wanted to just say, so after the horrible, the genocide, then you had some more fashion pieces that showed that were more celebratory, like today's fashion. What were those like?
Those pieces were quite enjoyable to work with, because you know, after the Khmer Rouge attire, you know, I feel like a lot of people might have that tendency to, you know, to really think about, you know, how their lives were like back in those days, and then to have the more modern or present day attire come, it's like, you know, people are redeeming themselves in newer ways, and also to really to revive themselves in this new country and this new world, and basically be themselves, be Cambodian.
So there's a lot of color and a lot of decoration, and how would you describe the pieces?
So the pieces following the Khmer Rouge attire, they, like we said, is quite celebrating in many ways, and it's something that you see in typical modern day attire and present day attire. You know, we back then during the Khmer Rouge, we were really strict on limitation and self-expression, whereas today, you know, it's like we can smile again, we can express ourselves again, you know, even though that horrific past still attached to us. But you know, we're here as a community, and you know, be lively like the colors that we have with the present day attire.
What is this piece right here?
So this is a kaban, what we call in Khmer. So it's a brocade fabric that can be worn into many ways as a bottom piece. So it can be pleated as a skirt or wrapped around like a pants. So the wraparound pants is called kaban, and the pleated skirt is called sampot.
So in Cambodian fashion, you use a lot of the brocade and shawls and headdresses. And what would be the characteristics of a typical female fashion?
A female fashion would consist of a finely fitted bodice with some jewelry, and also a skirt or sampot like this. Most of the more traditional approach, you would pleat this as a skirt for the female attire, or you can have this tailored to be a we would call it a fold over skirt or sampot pamwong. Yes. And for men, this kind of fabric, you can tailor it as a long sleeve shirt or as a suit with dress pants.
So where would you where are this kind of fabric? Where is it purchased?
Many of these fabrics are still being produced in Cambodia, and the majority of them are hand woven.
Oh wow!
So it's hard to believe with all these really fine details.
So these are ordered then online, or?
I bought these online, but of course you can get it at a better deal if you go to the country and get them yourselves.
Sure. So we all need to go to Cambodia to get our fabric.
Collect.
Are there any stores around here that are specializing in this?
Not many I can recall, but most of the Cambodian shops nowadays, they sell more like the modern attire, or like your typical krama scarves like these, or your tailored shirts. But most of the like more classical dances or wedding attire, those you would have to purchase from a vendor here in the States, or you would have to go to the country.
Okay. I know there's like an Indian they sell saris. They sell various fabric items up on Hammer Lane. near Kaiser Hospital. Have you been in there? Or?
I have not.
Okay. So, that's one store around here. I don't know if that would be similar to this, but the other store that you've heard of Britex in San Francisco?
I have not been there.
I think you need to go to Britex.
Yes.
I need to go to Britex. We all need to go to Britex. But it's this unbelievable store that's been there forever. Has I think 5 floors of fabric.
Wow.
And they actually have tours of their fabric store. So you can go on a tour they have so many floors that
that's a must. That's a must.
It's just absolutely amazing. But so I wanted to ask you. You said you. Could you talk about your college experience?
Okay, so after high school, I went to Delta College for a few years. Attained my AA degree in the arts there. After there, I transferred to Sacramento State and graduated just last year with a BA in art studio methods.
What is can you just tell me what art studio methods? What does that mean?
It's similar to a studio art degree. This type of degree was newly established at the university. It's a more like general outlook in the arts, a more general like study within the arts. So it's not as deeply concentrated as a studio art, whereas you had to make a portfolio and you had to do a concentration. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what did you have to do for the degree? What you took a lot of different art.
Yes, we took a lot of art courses. I mean, it's similar to the studio arts. Of course, you have a moderate concentration that you must focus on. So my focus was more on sculpture. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and one of the pieces, I would say the main piece in the art component at the Cambodian experience, it's a beautiful, is that charcoal or charcoal rendering portrait, but it's just amazing. What's the size on that?
It was 4 feet by 6 feet.
And who is the subject? What that's of a dancer?
Yes, the portrait was derivative from a classical dancer back in the day. She was of a royal family. She was also the first performer to perform the Apsara dance. Her name is Her Royal Highness Norodom Devi. So the reason why I selected to do a portrait of her, because of the following reasons, and that I just like the way the light is captured on that portrait. So when I do this sketch on a larger scale, I try to capture those lights, but through the essence of making these marks with charcoal.
So you did that from a photograph, or? From
a photograph.
Was there a lot of cross-hatching?
Yes, it was a lot of cross-hatching involved. I've kind of went through the easy route of just shading, and charcoal is really easy to smear and to really maneuver around. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like with cross-hatching, it has that natural feel and that organic look to know that it's a drawing, and these mass surface of image is created by these continuous accumulation of lines.
It is utterly stunning. I will find I got a picture of it and post that on our Facebook. So you entered that in an exhibit, and you got an award for that?
Oh yes. So during my final semester at Sacramento State, I was suggested by one of my art professors to enter that piece for the student award show. And for me, I'm not so fond of entering contest pieces, because I just feel like art in general is so subjective, and so many ways to like value art in so many ways. I'm like, competitions are just for like I don't know. Just not so fond of it, basically. So, I tried it, I submitted a piece, and lo and behold, I got an email saying that my piece was nominated as one of the finalists or category. And during the announcement day, I wasn't so like I was excited that my piece got into it, but I wasn't like highly expecting to get a second, third, or first place nominee. But surprisingly, I got first place.
Yes. And it's very well deserved.
Thank you.
So I wanted just to ask you about, because of your background, you had were able to be a translator on stage.
Oh, yes. So it was during my first year at Sacramento State. I was closely affiliated with the Cambodian Student Association, Sacramento State, and we invited the Royal Ballet of Cambodia. And this dance troupe, it's not like the second-hand class of troupe dancers, but we're talking about this troupe. They were the one that established classical dance. Their teachers, their practitioners were the one that established Cambodian classical dance within the country. So it was a big honor and privilege to translate their master dance class in front of about 200 students during that day. So I was standing side by side by His Royal Highness Teso Sisawat. So he was a royal family as well, and he was also translating, also showcasing the dance in his language, in Khmer, and also with I got to translate with master dancer Nikuru Sot Somali. Yes, so I helped translate it Khmer to English and vice versa. Wow. So it was a big privilege. I've been following this dance troupe through like social media for such a long time, and to meet them in place is like, I'm starstruck.
Yeah. Oh, that is just wonderful. Do you think they'd ever come to Stockton? Or?
It's a possibility.
All right, you got to bring them to Stockton. All right, that's next. So I wanted to just finish up with, you're going to be on KVIE. Can you explain that?
So KVIE is showcasing 3 artists within the Central Valley, I believe. They're showcasing Asian American artists to be presented for the American Asian Heritage Month within the months of April through May, around May, I believe. And I was selected as one of the artists. So one of the producers was really intrigued with the type of arts I do. So yeah, I'm not going to give out too much information, so you guys gotta come.
So how did they find you? Or you applied?
I did not apply. I wasn't the kind of person that like, I gotta go out and seek them out and hope they come pick me. But I was selected by a few affiliates and networks with the KVIE producer. So it was one of those things that, it just came to me. I didn't really go out and try to nag at them or get them to come my way.
So how are we going to be able to find that program?
I believe it will be aired around May.
Okay.
So yeah.
So we got to stay tuned. So you can see more of Lon's work. And do you have anything else that is coming up in the near future?
I think that's pretty much it right now. Besides the exhibition with UCAN and KVIE's showcase, I think that's pretty much it for now.
Right. Well, you do some amazing work, and I'm so glad that. I've met you. And,
thank you. It's an honor.
And that you were my guest today. And that's Behind the Art Scene on KXVS, the voice of Stockton. And I'll see you in the new year.